What's up guys, and welcome to the very first episode of my FIFA 22 career mode. Yes, the wait is over, FIFA 22 has dropped and I am so excited for my first career mode of the year. Now I want to start off by saying, first and foremost, if you're a new viewer to the channel, then please do click that subscribe button. I upload FIFA career mode videos every single day, often double upload days as well, with more career mode content in the evening, and this series will be uploaded every single day. There'll be a new episode. So yeah, starting off my FIFA 22 career mode, we'll be using Brentford this season. Of course, Brentford the Bees, newly promoted to the Premier League. They're a 3.5-star team, and the London side will be getting their stadium added into the game at some point. But as you'll notice, because we're playing on the original patch, we'll be using a generic stadium, and I actually couldn't name it the Brentford Community Stadium because I ran out of characters, so it'll be called the Community Stadium. But one thing you will notice in this year's FIFA CM, mainly I think due to the Create a Club new feature that's in the game, is you can customize a lot with the generic stadiums to make it more personable to you. You can change the seat color, the stadium color itself, the pitch pattern, the line color on the pitch as well, the actual green shade of the pitch color too, the goals, the nets, the shape of the nets, the color of the nets. There's a lot of customization for generic stadiums in this year's FIFA. That's really cool. So yeah, we picked Moulton Road, the generic stadium for Brentford. It's the closest one that resembles their real stadium, their fabulous new stadium, and I think it looks really cool as well. So yes, Brentford the team we'll be starting with in this career mode, and again, as we know, a newly promoted side to the Premier League. They are the lowest rated team in the Premier League in the game this season. Most pundits at the beginning of the campaign expected them to struggle and be in a relegation dogfight come the end of the campaign, but of course, as we know, to start the season off, they've been pretty impressive, I must admit. As you'll see, we'll be playing this season on Ultimate difficulty. We're playing through the whole career mode on Ultimate difficulty, and the transfer negotiation is strict as well. I want this to be a real challenge, this career mode, and I definitely think it will be. Again, starting off with the lowest rated team in the Premier League, the team with the lowest budget, just around 16 or 20 million pounds to work with. It's going to be a difficult challenge this season, but I'm really looking forward to it. It should be tough, it should be grueling. I'm pretty sure we'll be struggling down the bottom end of the table for most of the campaign, but I'm looking forward to it. So yeah, throughout this introduction, you'll see our policy on transfers, expectations of our youth academy, and what we expect to see on the pitch. In our first episode, I'll be running through the more finer details of how I'll be operating this career mode. But as we begin with Brentford, again, a 3.5-star team, one of the key themes for me, again, in this career mode is going to be trying to keep it as realistic as possible in the very first few seasons. Now, as I know, and as you know, it's very difficult to do that in FIFA CM due to the crazy, hectic, unpredictable transfer market, and sometimes AI club form being pretty bizarre, but I'll do my best to keep it as realistic as I possibly can in the very first few seasons. Now, Brentford, of course, do play a 5-3-2, and will be keeping their setup and their system throughout the game as well. I don't want to veer too far away from the way they play in real life, and as we know, they're a very quick and fast-paced team. The breaking bees, great on the counter, utilise the pace that way. We're going to be one of the top 10 defensive teams this season, proving we can cope in the top flight, but of course, it is a results business. This season, our main objective given to us by the board: avoid relegation. Avoid relegation at all costs. We finally made it to the top flight. We finally got to the Premier League. We don't want to be here on a holiday. We don't want to have one season and drop down to the second tier. No, we want to avoid relegation, prove we're good enough to stay in the top flight despite being the lowest rated team out of the 20. So as I run you through the squad here again, we will be playing that 5-3-2 that Brentford play with in real life. To be honest, it's a pretty okay team. The best thing I would say about it is that it's quite a youthful team. You know, the average age is quite low. It's quite a young side. There are a couple of decent youngsters to look out for. Pert Harris is probably the standout of the young players here at Brentford. And there are a couple of really decent players in this side as well. None better than this man, Ivan Toney, the shocker, of course. Super excited to use him once again. There's also quite a lot of pace in this Brentford team as well. So as you saw by the on-the-pitch objective given to us by the board there, yeah, we will be looking to utilise the counter-attacking ability this Brentford team have this season. There are a lot of players with the deals that come the end of the year, as you'll see. Many players on one-year contracts here at Brentford. And again, a transfer budget, with the wage budget alteration, as I often say, you're often given a really generous wage budget at the start of the season. We're looking likely to have around 16 to 20 million. I'll probably say around, yeah, like 18 to 19.5 million in total this season. So there's not much money to work with. But to be honest, that's good. I don't want to just completely build a new Brentford side in the first summer transfer window. No, absolutely not. I want the struggle. I want the challenge. We're definitely going to get it here at the Community Stadium with Brentford, no doubt about it. And the board, again, in the expectations there, avoid relegation. That's the main aim in the Premier League this season. That's the sole aim this season. The FA Cup reached the last 16. That's what they want. But really, our sole priority is just staying in the Premier League. Now, as for the Youth Academy, this is going to be a really important component of this career mode. Now, if you are a new viewer to the channel, then you'll find out very quickly, I do really emphasise the youth players we get for our academies. And as for our objectives on the board this season, they say keep one scout in England, looking for London talents. They want at least 3 teenagers going into our academy to sign pro deals this season and turn professional. And also, one of those graduates needs to regularly feature in our first team. That's right, got to put at least 3 players from the youth academy into the first team, signing professional contracts. And also, one of those graduates, at least one of those graduates, needs to feature regularly in our first team squad this season. So yeah, the Youth Academy in my career mode saves, it's often very, very heavily emphasised. I want to get as many great youth players through the setup as I possibly can because, as I often say, one of the things that makes career mode so great and so fun to play and what provides longevity is youth players. You know, the youth players coming through your academy, coming through your setup and becoming stars as the years go by. That's what we'll be looking for a lot this season. So the bulk of my transfer budget is not going to go on new signings, but hiring youth staff. Yes, hiring scouts for our youth academy. We picked up 2 5 stars, an English scout called Gabriel Simmons, and also an Albanian 5 star scout as well. We sent them both out on 9-month missions. Gabriel's staying in England for 9 months, looking for those London-based talents, that local homegrown talent, looking for any type of youth player whatsoever. But for the Albanian scout, I sent him to Denmark. As we know, Brentford have quite a strong Danish link. Their manager, Thomas Frank, being Danish, he's become my right-hand man in this save, and we'll be looking for some good Danish talents to come through the youth setup here with Brentford, trying to continue the theme of what we see in real life. Brentford signing a lot of Danish players and having some good Danish youngsters as well. So yeah, in terms of selling players as well, as I mentioned earlier, I do want to try and keep this series as realistic as possibly as I can for as long as I possibly can. Again, that is very tricky to do in FIFA career mode, as we know, but that's why, as you'll see, when I'm selling players as well as signing players in the first season, don't expect much change to this Brentford team. I'm only going to sell like 1 or 2 players at the very most in the first transfer window. One of those guys I was happy to let go was Julian Ginvia. He was out on loan last season. He's like 5th choice centre half. He won't get much game time, so I was okay letting him go to Mallorca, as I can't see him playing much for Brentford this season in real life, and therefore I was okay to sell him for 1.2 mil. So our transfer policy of around 16 mil remaining on the back of that sale there is to spend wisely. Don't pay well over the market valuation for a player. We've not got that cash to do that. We're a club on the rise, so prioritise signing young players to develop for the future. And again, as I mentioned there, don't change too much. Try and keep it quite realistic if we can in the first year, and don't end up with a completely new side in the first 6 months. No, let's try and keep it as realistic as we possibly can and go at a bit of a slower pace if we can. So in terms of new signings, now I was looking for a new right back with this Brentford team, and I had 5 names on the shortlist: Jayden Bogle, Ryan Nyambe, Nico Williams, Christensen, and also Ainsley Maitland-Niles as well. Now I'll be honest here, Maitland-Niles of course had that transfer saga during the summer window. Was he going to leave? It seemed like it after that Instagram post. In the end, the Gunners decided to keep him here. Rasmus Christensen is a Dane, which I thought could be quite realistic with Brentford having a lot of Danish players. Nico Williams, wasn't entirely sure the Reds would let him go as a good young prospect, the young Welsh right back. And also Jayden Bogle, I thought was a little bit too obvious with Sheffield United. He's the 3rd highest rated of the players on the list here, but does have the most potential. I thought he was a little bit too obvious. So in the end, I decided to think about my transfer policy. Rasmus would have cost us way over the market valuation. That's not what the board have said we're all about. I thought about, again, the realism, trying to sign players that, you know, to me would be relatively realistic, at least in the realms of possibility. As I said before, it is quite hard to keep things realistic. And also, again, with the young players, we want players we can develop for the future. So I don't want to sign too many players over the age of 23 or 24. In the end, I thought Ryan Nyambe ticked all 3 of those boxes. The young Namibian, of course, the Blackburn Rovers right back. He's only 23 years old, 72 overall. We got him for the market valuation, so that pleased the board at 4.3 mil. And what you'll notice as well with the contract negotiations here, I always try to keep these quite realistic as well. The agent said that Nyambe would be willing to take a pay cut, and it's just not not realistic, is it? The guy's moving on from the second tier to the top tier, going to the top flight. You know, I don't really think at 23 years old, with the future ahead of him, he'd sign a 5-year deal and take a wage cut as well. So of course I gave him a wage increase. Didn't need to do that, but I thought for realism's sake it made a lot more sense. So yeah, Ryan Niang became our first signing of the season. 4.3 mil, that was his market valuation, and again at 23 years old, this guy is exactly what I want in that right wing back role. 83 strength, that's his best stat. He's got a good dribbling stat as well, medium high work rates, 3-star, and he looks very good when going forward, as well as physically strong and imposing at the back as well. What I want to do is train him to become a right wing back originally. That would become his main primary listed position, I should say. That would get his stamina up a little bit as well. It'll only take him 2 weeks to become a right wing back because he's got the stats to play there. So in a very brief period of time, he'll be an official right wing back. Then I could give him a new development plan as well. Now, as we know, Sergio Canos has become a right wing back in this Brentford team, despite originally being a winger, as we hire our third youth scout here. I'm not sure I'm going to send him just yet, though. I'll think about it for now as our budget goes down to £8 million. And Canos has done a really good job at adapting to play as a right wing back in the Brentford side. However, I think Niang is going to go straight into our first team. You know, he's a young 23-year-old. He'll have some okay potential, and he's much more naturally suited to that position and role as opposed to Sergio Canos. Obviously, if we were to change to 3-5-2 as opposed to 5-3-2, then maybe Canos as a right midfielder would make a lot more sense and wouldn't see us be a bit of a downgrade on that right-hand side of the pitch. But I think to begin with, Niang, again, at just 23 years old, again, it took him just 2 weeks to become an official right wing-back. I think at 23 and some, you know, what I'd imagine is okay potential, I think he's the best choice as our starting right wing-back in this team. I gave him the wing-back development plan as well. That'll train his attacking work rate up from medium to high, including the stamina going up as well, and also some good stats when going forward, the passing and the crossing too. And one thing I really like, as you'll find out very quickly in my saves, is I love players that have high work rates, players to give both great energy both on the offensive end and also on the defensive end. And when the players have high stamina as well, it means they just run for days up and down the pitch and never stop. So that's exactly what I want from Niang on that right hand side. Again, with no wingers and wide midfielders in this team, just those wing backs. They'll be operating both as wingers and wing backs in this team, so I'll need them to be both energetic on both sides of the pitch, both when tracking back and also going forward, but also as well having the stamina to do that for 90 minutes as well. So heading into the first game of the season, as you'll see, it was indeed Arsenal Friday night. Of course, as we saw in real life, what an incredible opening night it was for Brentford, winning in their first ever Premier League game. Of course, the big 2-0. The atmosphere at the community stadium in that game was absolutely electric. And heading into the game as well, of course, we were playing on Ultimate in this save. You would have seen too, the sliders are going to start off at 50 to begin with, all 50 both for CPU, AI and also user as well, though I might tweak and adjust these as the season goes by, perhaps on a game by game basis, just to make sure the gameplay feels relatively realistic and the results we're getting are also quite realistic as well. So yeah, those sliders might be tweaked a little bit as the season goes by, primarily of course in the AI's favour. But for now, they'll all stay at 50. The only slides I have touched are injury frequency and severity. Those have been increased for the user because we want injuries this season. We want injuries throughout the course of the entire save. Injuries are realistic. You don't really get them at all in FIFA CM unless you change the sliders yourself. So I've changed those, increased those. We should get some knocks during the campaign. So yeah, for the first game of the season, I was really excited for this. Of course, again, Brentford having that magical 2-0 win on the opening night. I was thinking, can I replicate that in the game? Can we win on the opening night in the London derby against the Gunners at the Community Stadium? Well, we had the first chance and Buemo's shot well blocked, then Tony's saved by Leno as we were still tied at 0-0. In the second half, I ran into the German, totally overcooked the touches. I could have gone through one-on-one, totally fluffed my lines there and let my nerves and adrenaline get the better of me. And in the second half, where I defended really well with these 5 men in the back line, just didn't give Arsenal a sniff for practically the entire first hour until they got one minor-sighted goal. It fell to the Norwegian Odegaard, back from Real Madrid, this time with a permanent deal, smashed it past David Herrera, Spanish goalkeeper, into the top corner. And in the end, that was that. Yes, couldn't really create any more chances after that. Arsenal stood firm, and in the end, on the opening night, I couldn't replicate the result in real life. We taste defeat. Final score, Brentford 0, Arsenal 1. We lost the game by conceding just one shot on our goal in the entire 90 minutes. But hey, welcome to the top flight, man. Welcome to the top flight. That's just how it goes sometimes. 1-0 the final score. The Gunners get the win. Not the way I wanted to start the season off, but this is the challenge. This is the difficult challenge that I was expecting and I was looking for. If anyone thinks we're going to sneak into the top 4 and play Champions League football next season, think again. No, this whole season is going to be challenge. It's going to be difficult. It's going to be grueling, but I'm really looking forward to it. But that well in the first episode of Career Mode, guys. Big thank you for watching. If you enjoyed, if you had, then please drop a like. Much love to you all. Have a fantastic day. And don't forget, if you're a new viewer, then please do click the subscribe button, as this series will be uploaded daily. Thanks for watching. Much love to you all, and I'll see you for the next episode very soon.